This is one of my favorite apartments in the game, I think because of its size, but I won't lie, I'm not loving the decor that's in here by default. And so I think today I might try and renovate this apartment and maybe update it a little. With this build, I really tried to branch out of my comfort zone when it comes to the swatches of different items. I think we all kind of have that problem where you sort of find a swatch that you like and then you tend to gravitate towards that one, but with this apartment, I really wanted to use some different variants. For example, I based the entire thing off of a red kitchen counter, which I know sounds a little bit scary, but I swear it actually turned out pretty cute. So we're starting off here in a completely empty apartment because let's be real, we don't need to keep any of those original walls or furniture pieces. But one thing does have to remain. You might see that plaque on one of those walls where the windows are. That's actually like a required object in this lot that you physically cannot delete. A lot of the apartments in San Myshuno have some little quirks like that, like certain lot traits you can't remove. And this one is a historical apartment, so it has like a plaque of, I assume, one of the previous owners or something. And so unfortunately, you can't remove it. I wish that I could move the plaque. Like, I understand the idea of having a permanent item, but I really wish that I could at least like put it on a different wall or something instead of it being completely stuck there. Or if there was a cheat to remove it at least, but alas, there is not. In this apartment, you also can't change the windows or the door, and I really wish that I could edit the front door. Again, at least with a cheat or something. Like, I understand that obviously in real life, you can't really change the front door of an apartment, but like in The Sims, at least in The Sims 3, I could go back with cheats and like adjust everything. So I really wish The Sims 4 had traits like that, but alas, again, we cannot. It really is hard to decorate around that door though. I think it's that door specifically too. It just does not match the vibes. Like, I was using these white doors everywhere else and we had this sort of like yellowy toned wood on the floors and the cabinets, and then all of a sudden there's this like brown solid wood front door. If I could like paint the door or like change the swatch from the inside or something, that would be nice, but again, it's The Sims 4, so we can't. I'm also pretty sure that I did something to cover up that plaque, though I forget what it was. I might have just put like a diagonal wall in front of it, to be honest, which is also kind of bad because like the whole point of this apartment is that, oh, it's got this historical plaque, and then I was like, yeah, no, bookshelves in front of it, put a wall there. I don't want to see it. Although I will say, I think the wall being there makes for kind of an interesting shape of the room. Like, I sort of like having like the more rounded or I guess diagonal walls there because it kind of rounds out the space. We need some architectural interest, okay? It gives me a good spot to put the TV, and so I feel like this living room, kitchen, dining area really like fit very well. I also managed to fit in 2 bedrooms. Originally, this apartment just has 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom, but I cut that bedroom in half because it's so big. It does not need to be that big. I kept it in the same place, but I managed to like fit in an extra bedroom, like a smaller kid's room next to it. I swear, that is really one of the biggest problems of apartments in The Sims 4, and I know I keep saying this like over and over again in every apartment build, but the fact that even with cheats, you still can't edit these things is really difficult because realistically, there's kind of like 1 or 2 layouts that work for these apartments, and you can't really deviate from that so much. Unfortunately, there's just like where the windows are, and you can't really like build the rooms in a different place because otherwise there's no windows. So for example, in the back corner of this apartment, there's no windows anywhere, so it's a good spot for a bathroom, but you can't really like flip the bedrooms to the opposite side because then one of them would have no windows, and that would suck. And that is also certainly not up to code. You're supposed to have a window in your bedrooms. And let's be real, it would just be sad if your poor sim had no windows in their bedroom. They deserve better than that, okay? One of these bedrooms is really nice though. One of the bedrooms has like all the windows in that like, you know, bay window space and windows on the side. So it's got like a lot of light coming into it, which is a lot better than living space in here because living space in this apartment is like right up against another building, which is also kind of realistic. But the windows in this living room area, they face up against the other building. And so you're just gonna look straight into your neighbor's apartments. I don't know if you can kind of see when I scroll past because I scroll kind of fast, but they do look straight into the other apartment. Oh my God. Can I be honest with you? I just looked at this apartment for a second longer and I realized that I put a 3rd bedroom. I had in my head that I only had 2, but I'm looking a little bit more closely and I'm like, oh, there's a 3rd one in there, isn't there? That's my bad. Okay, I did manage to fit 3 bedrooms in this apartment. There's also one in the back left corner. So there's 2 kids' rooms and one primary suite. Okay, wow, that's embarrassing. In my defense though, I did build this like 2 weeks ago. It was a while ago. And also I built this on stream while I had a migraine. So again, in my defense, I was not in my right mind and it was a while ago. It's easy to forget an entire bedroom, right? Yeah, sure. Actually, believe it or not, this stream I would have canceled because I did not feel good, but it was sponsored, so I couldn't. I mean, I guess I could have, but I also feel weird being like, hello, sponsor, sorry, like, can't do it. So I still wanted to go ahead with it. Believe it or not, this stream was sponsored by State Farm, like the insurance company. I know, this video is not sponsored by State Farm. I'm just kind of telling you because I thought it was kind of cool. I mean, it's an insurance company, but it is kind of cool to be sponsored by like I guess it's a big name brand. Like my whole family has State Farm insurance. So I get an email from State Farm. I'm like, whoa, State Farm? Can you give me a discount on my insurance maybe? Like, I'll take it. Oh, you know what? Speaking of like brands and like plugs and stuff, I do have one small announcement for you. You know that YouTube competition show Future that I got invited to judge for whatever reason? Huge opportunity for me. Very big deal. They had me judge 2 episodes of this like YouTube gaming contest. The final episode came out yesterday. So if you want to go and watch that, I highly recommend you do. I'm in that one too. But it's a contest, right? So the final episode has the 3 finalists competing to win $100,000. And if you go and watch that final, you can also vote on who you think should win. So I highly recommend you go and do that. I'll have that link down below for you if you want to go check it out. It has been such a cool opportunity to be a part of this, but also it's been so scary. They had me judge a Fortnite video. How am I supposed to judge a Fortnite video? Look at me, I'm a simmer. Also, a lot of the other judges have like literally 20 million YouTube subs, and I don't have like a small YouTube channel, but when you compare like my Sims channel to like 15 million Fortnite subscriber channel, it's a big difference. It's a little bit intimidating. I'll stop with that though, I'm sorry. Now, while we're doing this room, I wanted to point out that rug. You might be like, wow, I've never seen that rug before. What is that? Because that's the reaction that I had. Believe it or not, that's actually a rug from Get Famous. It usually is like a weird corner of a swirly thing. It's got a really weird default swatch, so I kind of just scroll past it most of the time, but I realized it's got a couple swatches that are pretty cute, like this pink and green one. So normally it's just like the one corner. I've put 4 pieces together and sized them down twice to make this rug, but it's actually a really good, really versatile piece. I can't believe I've never used it before because I've literally never seen this like pink and green swatch until I did this build. And now I love it. Like I'm probably gonna use that again. I think it makes for a great room. I love the pink and green in here. And you know what? That's the beauty of this build. I really did try and like seek out items and seek out colors that I'm not normally using, because seriously, when have I ever used that rug? I honestly didn't even know it existed. And same thing, I used a lot of red in the living space, and I really don't use a lot of red in my Sims builds very often. Can I tell you a secret? This is kind of embarrassing, but when I was a kid, I used to be like legitimately afraid of the color red. I know that sounds so weird, but I've always been kind of like, I guess, superstitious a little bit, and maybe paranoid is a better word. And so I used to like associate the color red with blood, which is valid, and also with fire, which is one of my biggest fears. And so I used to be like genuinely afraid of the color red. I was like, oh, I shouldn't have a red folder for class because like that's bad vibe. Like I used to be actually scared of it. I used to like avoid red things when I was a kid. So this shows a lot of personal growth, okay? I made a red themed apartment. That is a big deal for me. It's kind of like a burnt orangey color though. It's a little bit orangey. It's not so much like red, but it is a nice color. And I will say, I had the hardest time with this primary bedroom trying to figure out the color scheme for the rug specifically, because I wanted to use that bed from Dream Home Decorator, but I really just could not make any of the other rugs work. Honestly, I kind of forget what I ended up settling on for the rug. I don't think I ended up using this one. I'm pretty sure I swapped it out. I might have even changed the whole color scheme in here by the end, but long story short, it took me a long time to decide. There was a lot of back and forth. I think I like stopped the room and came back to it. Like me and my whole Twitch chat were really unsure about this one the whole time. Okay, maybe one more plug. Speaking of my Twitch chat, I do stream on Twitch every day if you want to come by. My name's just lilsimsie on Twitch. I'll link that down below too. I mean, I play a lot of Sims builds, especially over there on my stream, and we have a lot of fun. So if you want to be a part of these things live, you can actually voice your opinion. If you hate my rug, you can tell me. Though please tell me nicely, because I'm a bit fragile. Maybe say like, oh, Kayla, I don't love that rug. What if we tried this one? Instead of like, I hate that rug. Because I'm a bit sensitive, in case you haven't caught on. I know you all knew that though. You knew I was a bit sensitive. And when you look at that, I did totally change the color scheme. Yeah, that's a very different vibe. That is a completely different vibe, but it's kind of cute though. I actually kind of like that like blue and orange kind of look. That rug is from Get Famous, and that is one of my favorite rugs in the entire game. I really, really like that one. So I guess maybe I should take back my like branching out when it comes to swatches, because that one specifically is like one of my favorites. But the rug swatch that I used in the living room is the same rug in a different color, and I don't ever use that swatch. So I guess that counts a little bit as far as branching out. And then last but not least, we have this kid's bedroom, which I will say was was very hard for me to figure out. It's kind of small. It's kind of like a weird shape too. I wanted to use a bunk bed maybe and like perhaps a loft bed, but I don't think I ended up keeping that because it was really tough to get it to fit that way. And also that rug that's in there right now, I think that is my second favorite rug in the whole game. That swatch in particular too, the like kind of colorful swatch of that Dream Home Decorator rug is so cute. I love the colors, like how it's kind of pastel. I just think it is the most adorable rug. It is really, really, really one of my all-time favorites. So I found myself using that rug as like the basis for a lot of kids' rooms, and for that I apologize. I guess I'm really not branching out as much as I thought I was, but I did try. I really did try. You can see now is kind of where the struggle part came in, because it was very hard for me to fit in the dollhouse that I wanted to use because it just is such a weird corner space. It was very tough to like manage to fit it all together. Small tip for the dollhouses in this game though, if you didn't know, you can actually size the dollhouses down as much as you want and they still function. Like I sized this one down once, but you could size it down again and it would still work because your Sims don't like play in the dollhouse. They don't like stick their arm into the like doll's little kitchen or whatever. They kind of just sit in front of the dollhouse and like hold a doll. So if you size the dollhouse down, it still works the same because they still just sit in front of it. There's no animation changes. It's honestly a very good tip because those dollhouses are really hard to use in the game because they are so giant. I will say that when I was a kid, I would have like killed to have something like that. A giant dollhouse would have been the dream when I was a child, but when it comes to like fitting it into my Sims bedrooms, it is kind of tough to use. So while I acknowledge that it's kind of cool to have a giant dollhouse, it is also really tough to fit a giant dollhouse into my designs. But I guess, I mean, that's not really a priority in real life, I suppose. Like when I was a kid, I wasn't really worried about how my dollhouse looked. I didn't have any giant dollhouses though. I had a lot of Littlest Pet Shops. Like I had a bunch of like smaller little sets for them and stuff. And I used to build, this is kind of cute actually. When I was a kid, I used to build like, I called them apartment buildings because I had like a huge set of old books that my grandma had given me. And it was like a bunch of classics, but like there'd be like 3 classics per book and they kind of had like a hardcover. They were this thick and they all had a different color. So I had like 20 of these books and I used to like use them like building blocks and like stack 2 and then put a book on top and then stack 2 and put a book on top because they were hardcover and like kind of cute. And then I would have like a little tiny room like this big and I would use that as like an apartment for my Littlest Pet Shops. It was really sweet. And now I play The Sims, which honestly is not that much different. It's kind of the same vibes. I am still to this day building apartments for little creatures. In this case, the little creatures are virtual dolls, but it really is the same vibes. I did not stop playing with dolls. I just switched to the computer kind. Anyway, this build is almost done now. I'm kind of just putting in some last minute finishing touches, trying to like add in some last little details and furniture. I will say I had a very, very tough time painting the walls in this living room. I always save it for last because I always feel like the wall colors just aren't what I'm looking for. I don't really know how to describe that, but like every time I do a build, I just can't find a swatch that fits my vision for the wallpaper. And so I always do it last because I'm like, I hate this part. I just don't like the colors that we have. I really want to have more swatches in The Sims 4. And so I save it for last, and then at the end, I just struggle and then get sad because it doesn't work. And that's the build. The build is done. So now I want to pop into the game and give you like an actual proper tour. Because again, it's kind of hard to see when I'm like zipping around, zooming around and turning the camera so much. So this here is that original apartment. We do not want this. We bulldoze this. I'm going to turn on move objects really fast because the way you have to place these apartments is kind of weird because I can't just like download the lot off the gallery. Weirdly, you have to download it as a room instead of as a lot. So you'll see I've uploaded it as a room. It just says living room as the room type, but it doesn't really matter. And then you download that and you can see that I've kind of got like the apartment there. I have to place it myself. And you'll also notice how there's like a few missing walls. That's because I had to delete walls so the game would think that it's all one room. When you download it, you can just go back in and then place those walls back and then fix the wallpaper. Again, super weird, but that is kind of the only way that you can download apartments in The Sims 4 right now. And honestly, I don't think they'll ever go back and change that because it's been so long, but it does work. It's just kind of annoying. I will also say that I used a lot of packs in this build, but with this, my goal was kind of to try and use lots of things and not so much to make a playable apartment. So I apologize for fitting like a bajillion packs in a tiny build, but I do a lot of base game stuff on my channel, so I try and balance it out a little. Here's the final apartment. You can see you walk in, we've got this door right here, and then we have the kitchen off to the side. I ended up using these like more wood-toned cabinets with the red bar stools. We also have a little dining table right here, and then my favorite part, the living room right here in front of the window. Off to the side, we have this little tiny bathroom in the corner, which is totally functional. Over here, we've got 2 bedrooms. We have this green one that I love so much. I am just obsessed with the color scheme in here, and we also have that like primary suite. I kind of picture it being like a teen's room and the parents' room, room. The parents have a desk and a computer. They also have a piano in here, which is pretty cool. And then that last room is the kids' room off to the side. So you could fit a decent amount of Sims in here, like 3 or 4 if you wanted to. Although I assume most of you probably won't download this because it's got so many packs. Again, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. If you like this video, I do a ton of build content here on my YouTube channel, so feel free to subscribe to see more. I'm gonna link that last YouTube episode, that YouTube gaming contest, right at the end of the video too, if you want to go click through and watch that. And with that being said, I will stop rambling at you and I'm gonna end the video right here. Thank you so much for watching. Have the best rest of your day, and I'm gonna catch you all tomorrow. Bye, everybody. I still can't get over that rug. It has been so long since Get Famous came out. I can't believe that I didn't know it existed.